The Government Operations Committee for Monday, 17 April will come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Representatives Bolso, Camper, Carr, Chisholm, Clemens, Crawford, Eldridge, Faison, Hakeem, Haynes, Himmer, Johnson, Kiesling, Kumar, Lafferty, Littleton, Martin, McCalman, Rudder, Vice Chairman Reedy, Chairman Reagan.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Members, do we have personal orders? Seeing none, we will begin our calendar. We'll begin on item number 1, House Bill 1046 by Chairman Vaughn. This rule is before us because of rulemaking with the Tennessee Housing Development Agency. It is traveling with Amendment 6168. Is that correct, Mr. Sponsor?
That is correct, sir.
We have a motion and a second on the bill. You're recognized for an explanation of your bill, sir.
Thank you, sir. The Low-Income Housing Development Agency, or tax credit program, provides incentives for the development of affordable housing for households earning 60% or less of an area's median income by offering investors a dollar-for-dollar tax reduction, dollar-for-dollar reduction in their federal income tax liability over a 10-year allocated period. 1046 creates a state program that emulates the federal program, which was created by the Tax Reform Act of 1986 under President Reagan, allowing THDA to leverage federal credits and incentivize development of workforce housing in the more rural areas of Tennessee. 25 other states have such a program. I do want to point out that this bill does not alter or preempt any local authority or zoning ordinances in any way, and the credits will not apply to local taxes. And with that, sir, I'd appreciate a favorable vote.
Members, you have heard the explanation. Representative Hakeem, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I think you've gone over it some, but the intent and the result that you're looking for, would you share that with me?
Sure, sir. What we're trying to do is incentivize folks to go into the rural areas to provide more affordable housing so that as hopefully some of the industry spill over into areas such like Blue Oval, that we can get those markets started to where folks can find affordable places to live in those areas.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Other questions for our sponsor? The question has been called. Any objections? Seeing no objection, we are voting on sending House Bill 1046 to Finance, Ways and Means with a positive recommendation. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Bill moves out to Finance, Ways and Means.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee.
Members, next on our agenda is House Bill 251 by Chairman Haston. We have a motion and a second, but it's before us for rulemaking with the Tennessee Student Assistance Corporation Program. I show no amendments on. Is that correct, Mr. Sponsor?
That is correct.
You are recognized for an explanation, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We all know school districts often struggle to find teachers, especially in special education. This legislation would create the Tennessee Special Educator Scholarship, a scholarship that would provide financial support to eligible special education assistants, which would help them pursue teaching careers in special education in Tennessee. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Members, you've heard an explanation of the bill. Do we have questions of the sponsor? Representative Hakeem, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a point of clarity for me. I think I read that they have to work 20 hours a week in addition to going to school.
You're recognized, sir.
I don't have the hours on that.
Okay.
I will say the individual that completes this must agree to work full-time as a special education teacher in Tennessee public schools for at least 3 consecutive years. That's all I have on the requirements on that.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Any follow-up, sir?
No, sir. No, sir.
Any additional questions for the sponsor? The question's been called. Any objection? Seeing none, we are voting on sending House Bill 251 with a positive recommendation to Finance, Ways and Means. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Bill moves out to Finance, Ways and Means with a positive recommendation.
Thank
you,
Chairman
Mr. Sponsor.
Committee.
Members, next on the agenda item number 3 by Representative Hicks. It's House Bills 271. We have a motion and a second. It is before us for rulemaking with the Board of Examiners of Psychology. Mr. Sponsor, I show it traveling with 2 amendments, 6330 and 7218. Is that correct, sir?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
You're cleared for an explanation of your bill, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 271 simply creates a new certification for psychological testing technicians to be housed under the Board of Examiners in Psychology. The primary role for a psychological testing technician is to administer psychological and neuropsychological tests to patients. The purpose is to help with the shortage of psychologists and neuropsychologists. This will free up more time so they can assist and see more patients. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Members, you've heard an explanation of the bill. Do we have questions of the sponsor? Seeing none, without objection, we're voting on sending House Bill 271 with a positive recommendation to Finance, Ways and Means. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Ayes have it. Bill moves out to Finance, Ways and Means. Thank you, Mr. Sponsor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee.
Is Representative Carringer present? I don't see her. If someone has her number, give her a call. Roll to the heel. Members, we're on item number 5. I will turn the gavel over to the Vice Chair, Chairman Reedy. You're running the show.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 5, House Bill 1107. Chairman Reagan, you're recognized on your bill.
Thank you.
We've got a
Mr.
motion and a second.
Thank you, Mr. Sponsor. I would like to add Amendment 7385 to this bill, which extends the board for 2 years.
We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Chairman Reagan, you want to put that on at this time?
Yes, let's go ahead and put it on there.
Without objection, we're voting on amendment tracking number 7385, putting it on House Bill 1107. All in favor, but say aye. Aye. Any opposition, nay. Amendment goes on. Chairman Reagan, you are recognized on the bill as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill, as amended, extends the sunset for the Board of Directors for the Tennessee State University to 2025. It's pretty much a standard sunset bill. I stand ready to answer questions.
Question for the chairman on the bill. The question has been called without objection. All in favor of moving House Bill 1107 on to calendar rules signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition, nay. Bill moves out. Item number 6 on our calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is House Bill 203.
And I don't see an amendment on there. Motion. We have a motion and a second on House Bill 203. Chairman Reagan, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe we have some people who are requesting to speak on this. If the committee is willing, we can listen to them first before we vote on the bill.
Without objection, we'll go out of session to here. And I have 3 folks on the list. If you would come forward. And then please just check for the red light on the microphone and introduce yourselves for the record, please.
Good afternoon, Chairman Reagan and members of the House Government Operations Committee. With me at the table are Chief of Staff Andy Varinsky of the Department of Children's Services and Director of Auditing John Murphy. I'm
Commissioner, if you would introduce yourself as well.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
I am Margie Quinn, the Commissioner of the Department of Children's Services, and I appreciate the opportunity to share with you our progress on the Comptroller's audit findings. Our first written report was filed with Chairman Reagan and Chairman Roberts on April 13th. We have taken important first steps in improving our recruitment and the training of new employees. The proposed budget includes funds for better salaries and managed caseloads and greater collaboration among all our partners. Ensuring positive impacts in the life of a child is the Department of Children's Services' greatest responsibility. Our mission and values are grounded in acting in the best interest of children. We also recognize historic challenges at DCS with a commitment to find answers that draw on best practice and community collaboration. At the Department of Children's Services, we investigate allegations of child abuse and neglect, run the state's foster care system, and oversee kids found delinquent by juvenile courts. Our quarterly update on the findings in the 2022 Comptroller's Report shows 55% completion for case manager case managers, permanent placements, and children's housing. 39% in progress related to new controls. 5% yet to be started with steps underway to solve data-related issues. While we are on the right path, let me highlight several significant actions. Since March 30th, there are no children housed in state office buildings. There are now 29 transitional and Isaiah 117 houses across the state. The DCS new case manager turnover rate dropped to only 9% for calendar year 2023. The DCS new case manager turnover rate dropped to only 9%, and vacancies have been reduced by over 46%. We have 365 openings today, down from 620 when I was appointed on September 1st. First-year case managers have a 10-case cap their first year. Continuous improvement is our expectation, and everyone is a key member of our DCS family and team. Teamwork begins by building trust and helping others to succeed. The department has a new mission: act in the best interest of Tennessee's children and youth, and a new vision: children first! We are 75% complete with a strategic plan and should be able to provide a thorough update in the June hearing on that plan. The department is energized around the new mission and vision and feel it sets the right tone and urgency needed to remediate the findings and guide us in all our decisions. If we put the best interest of children first, we are on the right track. Regarding finding 4, we are building intentional collaborations, for example, with the Governor's Office of Faith-Based and Community Initiatives. To recruit and support foster parents, we are introducing the Care Portal app for the faith-based community, which will facilitate engagement for the delivery of essential items to transitional homes. There are 1,128 families in the pipeline to become foster families. 317 parents have finished the training and are waiting on background paperwork. 506 families are currently attending training classes, and 305 are signed up to start the training. It takes approximately 4 to 6 months to complete all phases to become a foster parent. Since raising the case manager salary, the whole range, on February 16th, we have received over 1,000 applications for the position. On March 13th, we started the new 24-week pre-service course. The May class has 92 new case managers, and the June class is almost full. Leadership courses for frontline supervisors will begin in April and run continuously throughout the year. A new opportunity in collaboration with the UT NAFI Center for Effective Leadership is being planned for case managers that will roll out next February. The Certified Public Manager Child Welfare Specialist certification will be the first of its kind in the United States. A new PREA coordinator has been selected, and 5 of the 6 new investigators have been hired. Training will begin in June relative to Finding 7. For Finding 12, the Statement of Work contract has been signed on the pre-procurement work for the replacement of TFAX. We will have the RFP out by December 31st. With the Comptroller's report as a roadmap, our expectation is to reduce risk and ensure long-term sustainability that keeps Tennessee's children safe from harm and poised to thrive in an environment that promises safety, permanency, and well-being, and with a vision to always place children first. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
Chairman Carr, you're recognized.
Thank you. And thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate your being here today and giving us this update. And I know in my county, we had several children that were staying in the offices up there. And we made not a deal, but we got with the Isaiah House, and they had to change just a little bit of their rules and everything. Are we working with all the other Isaiah 17 houses? Are they changing their rules a little bit for us to help us out? And are we really in a good working relationship with all them? I think you had said you had 19 working with you right now. Is that correct?
We have 29
okay.
29 transitional houses, and those include our Isaiah 117 houses. And the next construction project for Isaiah 117 is happening right here in Davidson County. So we have 3 currently under construction Isaiah 117 houses, and those will be in Middle and West. So our next push is going to be through West Tennessee for Isaiah 117 houses.
Chairman Carr.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that too, because I think that's going to help us. I know it helps us in Sevier County. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Representative Hakeem.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner, thank you and your, I guess, financial people who are with you. Firstly, what I've read about you, what you want to do, and it appears what you are doing, I'm very pleased with that. I guess I'll use the term, are we doing what you need to be successful? In other words, we don't want you to burn out 2 months from now, because it appears that you're making progress and you're moving forward, but trying to see if you feel that if you've been embraced by the administration or by the legislature and so forth.
Yes, sir. And thank you so much for that question. I feel like we need to move with some speed. Our case managers deserve nothing less.
Mhm.
We have they have been working night and day, weekends, holidays, and I feel like I need to move at speed for their benefit. They are still sitting in offices with kids. I'm sorry, not in offices, but in transitional houses. That is so much better for our children to be in transitional houses in 117, Isaiah 117. But our case managers are still sitting with kids.
Mhm.
And so we still have work to do to create a system of care for them that moves them into these transitional homes and out into permanency in a rapid way. And that needs to happen with intentionality, carefully, with evidence-based, and our case managers need to be supported in a way that they have not been before. And so, while I very much appreciate your question, it is with some urgency that I think we need to be acting, and I do feel very supported by the administration and by the legislature. And so I appreciate your question very much. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Representative Hakeem.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have two brief questions additionally. You spoke earlier about, I believe, the current class has 92 persons in it. You may have given a timeline on when they complete, but how large is a complete class?
So we're capping these classes at 100.
Okay.
We could probably put more people in those classes than 100. We're capping them at 100 because we don't want to push so many people out into the regions so that it becomes too burdensome
Mhm.
for the supervisors, for the mentors. We want each new case manager to have a mentor, to have somebody who individually supports them
Yes.
once they hit those offices. We think that individual support is really key to the retention rate. And so we want to pace ourselves.
Mhm.
If we just flood the regions with new staff, we think that's going to be a recipe for failure. And so while I think it seems like a good idea to just flood the regions with people, I think that's not a great idea. And so we want to pace ourselves. So we're trying to put 90 to 100 people in these classes. So this class has got that number. The May class does. We'll field a class at the end of June that's got about that number. We'll have a class in August. We'll have a class in October. And we feel very good about putting that number of folks in those classes.
Representative Hakeem, follow up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are, I guess, some markers that you're expected to attain. I don't know if it's 3 months, 6 months down the road. At this juncture, do you feel that you're going to meet those markers?
I think it's too soon to tell.
Okay.
Just to be brutally honest with you.
Mhm.
I think we'll know more about October
Okay.
with the retention rate. Our turnover rate, we're trying to be very consistent with what the comptroller reported.
Mhm.
The comptroller reported a 97% turnover rate in first-year case managers,
Mhm.
and they reported that on a calendar year.
Mhm.
And so we're reporting first-year case managers on a calendar year, and we've got a 9% turnover rate
Mhm.
through the first 4 months of the year.
Okay.
And so we want to compare apples to apples. And our goal was 30% because that's the national average.
Okay.
Now, some of the things that we've modeled, some of the states that we've looked at and drawn from
Mhm.
have much lower turnover rates. Some of the states that we have looked at their training and their mentoring programs have turnover rates in the 6 to 10%. So ultimately, that's where we'd like to be. We'd like to be in that 6 to 10% range. But in order to do that, we've got to get case managers out of sitting with kids. We've got to lower the caseload averages, obviously. And so we've got to do some more things to support case managers and get them doing the things that, frankly, we hired them to do.
Mhm.
And we're a little ways away from that.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioner.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Representative Johnson, please. You're next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I've got a couple of brief questions as well. So I'm glad that we clarified a little bit. The children that are in transitional housing, they're still not in foster homes. So overburdened DCS workers are still sitting with them. When they're at Isaiah House, they still have to have workers sitting with them. And it's devastating to those workers. I'm hearing from them still that every day they are required to do sitting, maybe not one person every day, but every day, some are after they complete their extreme caseload. So I think it's important that people understand that they are still having to have DCS workers sit with them in addition to their regular duties of the day. And I'm a little, what was I know you're new, and we talked very early when you were just getting a picture of everything that was happening, but what was the mission and vision before that it was children first? I mean, isn't that the point of the department?
Right. 2 weeks ago, the Department of Human Resources put the DCS leadership through a couple of days worth of sort of leadership training and change and transformational leadership training. And frankly, the entire leadership team could not state either the mission or the vision of the department. They were long and it was wordy, and so we decided it was time for a change. The comptroller findings found that the mission and the vision didn't really communicate the urgency of the department.
Mhm.
And so it was through, frankly, it was the least painful process of a mission vision revamp that I've ever been through in my 35 years of working. And I think everybody else felt that way as well. And so we felt like the simplicity of that really demonstrated the urgency of this department. And so that is what we came up with.
Okay, understand that.
Yeah.
And
Follow up, Representative Johnson.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Also, I have talked to a lot of the new hires, and they are very concerned about the process, how disorganized it is, how they felt they were told they were coming in at one rate, but actually received a lower rate, and just the mechanics of coming on. And I understand you are taking on a lot of people at one time, and it's fascinating to me that we let it get to more than 600 employees down. You were not here then. And apparently nothing could be done. Nothing was even tried. And now we're bringing in people at up to 100 a month. You know, I'm happy about that. But what I'm hearing is they're not having a lot of support, even with 10 on caseloads. They are being asked to sit with some of the kids that are in transitional housing. They're having difficulty getting enough back and forth between their supervisors. And I know you guys used to have like mentors that was their job. And apparently there are none to few left of those, I think. And so they were trying to get advice and help from other other DCS workers who had these large caseloads, and they're just like, we can hardly help you because we're just trying to keep our head above water. So I'm just concerned of how that's moving along. And I spoke with our liaison a little bit before this meeting, and she said that, that things are getting better, but I'm just curious, of those new hires since January, how many of those have quit?
How many new case managers have quit?
Yeah.
So we've hired 156 new case managers since January 1, and we have retained 142
Okay.
new case managers. So that's a 91% retention rate.
Okay.
Again, that's a 9% turnover rate. A lot better than where we were a couple of years ago. Not perfect, but we're getting
Yeah.
there. We just last week graduated another large group of mentors. I wish I could tell you that mentors were not also carrying cases. They are carrying
Right.
cases. If the budget passes, we will also be able to implement privatized case management, which will help in the child program area
Mhm.
and start to reduce again those caseload averages. If a bill passes, there will be a bipartisan caseload reduction that will stair step in a caseload reduction, which we've been supporting. But again, that's not a magic wand. We still have to have the case managers in place to be able to reduce the caseload averages. Reducing caseload averages is good for case managers, and it's good for kids, and it's good for
Right.
families. So we've never been opposed to that, but we've got to have the people to make it happen. And so we're hopeful that the things that we have put in place, and that it does include a great onboarding process.
Mhm.
We have an anonymous, great anonymous complaint system. I will tell you that case managers and supervisors email me pretty much on the regular with complaints and with issues that they find are not satisfactory, and we put fixes in place. I try to be very transparent with our staff. In fact, I emailed out on Friday that this hearing was taking place, encouraged everyone to watch. I've encouraged them to watch all of the hearings because I want our department to understand what's going on, even how the sausage gets made, right? And I want to know what's going on in the regions. The CFG, the Customer Focused Government folks, have done focus group meetings in all of the regions of the state, anonymous, so that we are getting that feedback and trying to put fixes in place, big and small, so that we are trying to answer the needs of the department, answer the needs of the case managers at all levels. So those are the things we're putting in place.
Thank you.
Representative Johnson, you got a final
Yes,
follow-up there?
one little last question. So, I appreciate all of these changes. I can tell you that folks out in the field are still feeling the dire, stress and all of that. And hopefully this is going to start trickling down so that that is relieved, because I just can't tell you for the last 2 years how toxic it has been. And people are feeling like, I don't know if it's ever going to get better. And I can see how they get that, even though you all are trying to make the changes that are necessary. I'm glad the funds are coming. My last thing that I'm super concerned about is the TFAX. Is that how quickly do you think that will be replaced so that we can work on keeping those kids safe?
That's a great question, and we do appreciate your continued interest in this department. The TFAX request for proposal should be out by December 31st. We anticipate to roll out modules. In other words, we're not going to wait 2.5 years and just roll it out all at once. We will roll modules in place as they're completed. So it will be a rollout completion, if that makes sense. So you might roll out juvenile justice, you'd roll out child programs, you'd roll out child safety. You wouldn't roll out the whole thing all at once.
Well, until those get rolled out, are you guys able to put checks in place to make sure that kids are safe, because so many are missed through TFAX?
Yes, our teams are constantly working on TFAX, but it is an imperfect system, as you well know. until we replace it module by module. It is what we have.
Okay, next on my list, I've got Representative Hemmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioner and staff for being here today. I know you have one of the hardest jobs in state government, so appreciate your candor. Quick question about the case manager openings. How many do you have currently?
We have 365 as of today.
Okay. And how often do you have those 100 cohort classes?
We're running those every other month, and we have increased the vetting process for those. So as we increase the salary, we have increased the vetting process. So it takes us about 6 to 8 weeks to put someone through the hiring process to bring them on as a case manager 1 or 2. If they have prior experience, they can apply for the case manager 2 position. If they have a college degree and no experience, then they come in as a case manager 1.
Representative Hemmer.
And what do you attribute to the lower turnover rate you've had? I think you said 9% for this year. What do you attribute that to?
I think there are 2 main reasons. One is obviously the increase in salary, and 2, I think, is the new pre-service training. I think there was a lot of thought, research that went into the pre-service training, and I'm happy to send you information on that. I think it's really great and interesting training that we're putting these folks through. It's simulation, it's mock court, and I think we're just preparing our case managers in a much more thoughtful and intentional way to hit the ground much more prepared than they were previously.
Representative Hemmer.
Thank you. And do you feel your new salary opening, I guess, starting salary request of around 44,000 is commiserate to what the market is asking for or demanding in other state case managers as well?
So on February 16th, the new start salary was $50,600.
Follow up, Representative Hemmer.
Last one. You also mentioned in your testimony that there were no kids housed in state offices from end of the month, essentially March. What was the figures for the first 3 months of the year?
I don't have the exact numbers of children in offices the first 3 months, but I can get those to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Well, Commissioner, I've got to say leadership is very important and you're doing a great job. Next, we'll go to Chair Leader Littleton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank y'all for being here. I've got some allergies today. I had last week was the Employees Day on the week, on the Hill, the state employees. And I know 2 of them, I think 3 of them were the same ones that came last year. And last year they were full of complaints. And this year they said, we talk and she listens. So they had no real complaints this time. I mean, the same complaints are going to be there, but there's so much improvement that they didn't have anything bad at all to say. So thank you all for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here today.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chair Lady Littleton. Next, Chairman Carr, you're on the list. Pass. Representative Clements, you're next, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know that the target is for there to be 10 cases per individual. Is that the case for all the new hires? Do they have a 10 caseload max?
Yes.
And does that apply to all caseworkers? Are there any caseworkers who have more than 10 caseloads right now, including experienced caseworkers?
The 10 case cap is only for your first year of employment.
So there are people with, what's the max caseload now?
There is no max caseload.
Well, I'm saying, in practically speaking, what is the max caseload a caseworker has who has experience?
There is no max caseload. The under Brian A, the negotiated average caseload is 20, but there is no max caseload.
So, given your knowledge of your caseworkers, what is the most cases a single caseworker has who is working for the state of Tennessee today?
I couldn't answer that and be 100% truthful. I can find that out and send it to you. We do rolling special events on during the week and weekends to try to specifically target individuals who have high caseloads. That typically happens in either Davidson County, Montgomery County, Shelby County, most of your urban areas where you have a lot of kids in custody. So if we have caseworkers or a group of, or a team that has a high caseload count, those caseloads get up. We will have special events in order to try to reduce those caseloads. But they can get up to 75, 80 cases on one case manager. And we'll do special events to try to reduce those caseloads.
Chairman Clemens?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So you're telling us today that there are caseworkers working in your department who have up to 400% the average required under Brian A.
Correct.
And that's still allowed, and that doesn't concern you enough to take additional action?
It absolutely concerns me. And the additional action we take is to do special events where we flood that area with special personnel in order to try to reduce those caseloads.
Follow up, Chairman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Are any of your, and I ask you this because I've heard from some employees, and this, to be fair, wasn't under your leadership and the previous leadership. There were caseworkers who were being punished for not meeting targets under the TEAM Act and other processes in state government. Are y'all currently punishing or disciplining in any way caseworkers who are not meeting their targets, who have more than 20 cases?
I'm not aware of any, no, sir. I'm not aware of that.
So what happens if a caseworker is not able to meet their targets or goals when they have up to 400% of the average required under Brian A?
If you're talking about face-to-face visits, is that what you're talking about?
I'm talking about any targets or goals that you require for your state employees to under your rules and administrative procedures. Are there any disciplinary actions being taken against those state employees?
I'm not aware of any disciplinary actions. Now, we had some discussions last fall because I think there has to be discussions around individual performance plans and performance evaluations, because a lot of the performance evaluations are based on metrics that involve things like face-to-face visits with kids and goals involving things like caseload averages and things in the things that you're talking about. And when you don't hit those goals because you have too many cases or you're sitting with kids is not on your individual performance plan. But when you spend so many hours a week sitting with kids and you're unable to meet your performance metrics because so much of your time is spent, or your extra time is spent sitting with kids, that's got to be taken into consideration. And so we're having those conversations as executive leadership about adjusting the performance plan to either include sitting with kids as your individual performance plan, or adjusting the metrics such that you're not penalized for not making your goals because you're doing something else.
Chairman Clemens, you got a final follow-up?
Well, Mr. Chairman, thank you. So do you have any data on the retention rates of your caseworkers who have 20 or less cases versus those who have 20 or more cases? Have you discovered any correlation there?
So we just put into effect the 10 caseload cap. So it's too soon to do correlative data on that.
Clemens?
We wouldn't have enough longitudinal data to be able to, with any reliability, to do that kind of data.
Chairman Clemens, final follow-up? I can always come back to you and put you back on the list.
This is all I have right now, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. So my final question is, the priority here is the children. And sorry to go down that path towards the state employees, but you've testified there are no children, I believe you testified there are no children sleeping in state office buildings today or on office floors as of today, or as of the end of March, I think you said. And you've established various timelines throughout your corrective action plan. How comfortable are you, as you said here today, that you're going to meet your timelines in these respective corrective action plans?
I think we'll know. I'm comfortable that we're going to meet the timelines that we've set for ourselves. I'll know more about whether or not we can meet that 30% retention rate probably later in the summer. I'll know more about whether or not the things that we have put in place to try to affect retention. I'll know more about whether or not those things have worked in our state probably a little later this summer. The numbers I've got to get further into the summer to see whether or not those things are going to work. It's too soon to tell if those things are working. 4 months is not enough time to tell us whether or not.
Thank
Those
you,
things are
Commissioner, for
working.
that response. Next on my list, Chairman Lafferty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for being here. You have a very difficult job. That doesn't emphasize nearly enough how hard what you all have to see and do and deal with, seems to me anyway. Don't take this the wrong way. Despite all the conversation in here, we could throw all the money in the world at this. We could hire all the people in the world to take on these roles. We could get caseloads down to 5. There's still no state substitute for a loving mother and father in a home to take care of a child. Along those lines, do you all have any numbers that illustrate how many of these kids come from, let's call it broken homes versus, say, a 2-parent home? Do you have any kind of breakdown on numbers like that?
We may. There may be some data on that I don't have it here in front of me, but I can probably get that to you.
Chairman Lafferty, follow up.
Thank you, Chairman. If you have that, I would love to see that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Last person, back to you, Representative Johnson, for a final question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There's one more thing that I thought about. I know the pay has increased for the new employees, and I talked to a lot of long-term employees who were not so happy that new people were coming in at either a higher rate from them or the same rate. And there wasn't a lot for mobility going upward for a lot of the workers and maybe transitioning to a different position where they could get a higher salary. But I wonder if any adjustments have been made there.
So the entire range was increased all the way up through team coordinator. Team coordinators are now making $74,000 a year. If you were at or above the mid-range, you got a 3% range. I think the biggest increase was the fact that we raised the entire range. And for those employees who are long-term employees who were at the top end of the range, who are no longer receiving raises, we raised the range such that no employee is within $10,000 of the top of the range. So they will for quite some time receive pay increases. I think that's the biggest raise, is that no employee is within $10,000 of the top of the range. So every employee within the case manager series received a raise. And no employee is within $10,000 at the top of the range.
Okay, and that's one of the things was like, I don't know all the initials for all the positions, but say that they were in this particular group that only did, say they only went to court or something like that.
Court liaisons.
And then they wanted to switch over to a caseworker because that salary was higher and great record and all that. But they were bringing in new caseworkers, but they weren't letting folks move over, is what I was told. And so I just wonder if y'all had addressed that.
I doubt we would turn down anybody that would want to move to a case manager position. But we are also looking at some specialist positions and other positions that we would like to raise. Between CM2 and CM3, case manager 2 and case manager 3, in some positions should be an automatic once you receive or there for a certain amount of time. Those are supposed to be automatic increases. Those had not been automatically increased. That's one of the things we'd like to do is increase those CM2s to CM3s that have been sitting for quite a while and have not been automatically bumped. And so I think if the budget passes, that's one of the things that we'd like to do is bump those CM2s to CM3s that have been sitting for quite a long time, years, and not gotten that CM2 to CM3 raise. There are quite a number of things that we'd like to do if the budget passes.
Yeah, and that's just one of the things I wanted to make,
Yeah.
put out there because I've heard that a lot.
Yes.
So thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. Thank you.
Any further questions from the committee members to our guests? Seeing none. Thank you very much for the information. You have your hands full, but we're here to help. So stay in touch with us as far as House and Senate members. This time we'll go back into session. Chairman Reagan, you are recognized on your bill for final remarks, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As introduced, this extends the Department of Children's Services to June 30th, 2024, requires the department to submit quarterly reports to the chairs of government operations committees to provide updates to the department's progress. You should have seen one of those already that was forwarded by our research analyst. In addition, it requires that the department appear before the Education, Health, and General Welfare Joint Subcommittee no later than June 30th, 2023 to present information. And you've heard reference to that in this testimony as well. And they will also include the department's 6-month follow-up report submitted to the Comptroller of the Treasury. With that explanation, I ask for a positive vote on this bill, sir.
So are we ready to vote on House Bill 203 going on to calendar and rules? All in favor of moving it out to calendar and rules signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, nay? It moves out to calendar and rules. Next on our calendar, item number 7, House Bill 234, Chairman Reagan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill is the rule omnibus bill that we put forward every year. Essentially what it does is continue the permanent rules filed with the Secretary of State between January 2022 and December 31st, 2022 that are in effect as of the time of this act and until they are repealed or amended by subsequent rule or rulemaking agency. With that explanation, I ask for a positive recommendation.
Any questions for Chairman Reagan on this bill? Seeing none. All in favor of moving House Bill 234 to calendar and rules signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Nay. Bill moves out. Chairman Reagan, the meeting is back to you, sir, for our final item on the calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I believe Representative Carringer is with us now. Members, we're back on item 4 on our calendar. House Bill 566 is before us for rulemaking with the Department of Health. It is traveling with Amendment 5757, and I understand the sponsor wishes to propose another amendment drafting code 7520. Is that correct, Madam Sponsor?
That's correct, Chairman.
Do you want the amendment put on there for a full explanation, or you want to explain your bill first?
Correct. You can go ahead and put it on.
All right, members, at the request of the sponsor, let's go ahead and vote on Amendment 7520 going on to the bill. We have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The amendment is on the bill. Madam Sponsor, you are recognized for an explanation of your bill as amended.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee. House Bill 566 is to create the Overdose Fatality Review, which would authorize a county to establish a multidisciplinary and multi-agency overdose fatality review local team, and 2 or more counties to jointly establish a single multi-county team. Provides overdose fatality review teams with duties and responsibilities to examine and understand the circumstances leading up to a fatal overdose so that policy recommendations and resource allocations can prevent future overdoses. What the overdose fatality review team would be responsible for gathering and analyzing data on specific cases of fatal overdose, similar to the child fatality review that has existed in Tennessee for many years and has brought forth recommendations like safe sleep and co-sleeping recommendations. Why this overdose fatality review board is important is to understand the circumstances that lead to each fatal overdose. They work across sectors to understand the trajectory of each person's life prior to their overdose. And from that insight, they have been able to identify opportunities to prevent future overdoses. Now, to just kind of let you know who would be at the table would be public health, social services, medical examiner, court system, which would be the DA's office, corrections, substance misuse treatment providers, law enforcement, healthcare providers, and many more depending on the community. Now, from serving on Metro Drug Coalition Commission Board in Knoxville for many, many years, we have in Knox County essentially been a pilot program for the past 2 years with this particular program. So the team has been able to identify intervention points where many lives could be saved, especially hospital emergency departments and detention facilities. So, okay, I mean, yeah, well, all the other committees have enjoyed knowing exactly what we're doing because it is a pilot program. So with that, if you all are ready to vote and send this on, I'm good with it. So I will let committee ask questions.
Thank you, Madam Sponsor. Representative Bolso, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Chair Lady Kieringer, for presenting this bill. I have just a couple of questions. One, I noticed that under Section 104 of the bill, it's discretionary with each county as to whether they set up a local review board. And my first question simply is, do you have a sense as to how many of our 95 counties will actually set up a local review board to participate in this program?
You're recognized.
And no, I do not, since it's being left up to each county to be able to have a decision to do this. And Knox County has always worked with the surrounding counties within our area to help out with that. So I can find that out and get back with you later on that.
Follow up, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chair Lady. My second question simply is, do you have handy the number of overdose fatalities that occurred in Tennessee for the last reporting period?
You're recognized.
Thank you, sir. That has not exactly come back to us on that. Again, that's a question that I can get with a couple of phone calls, I'd say. Thank you.
Any further follow-up?
No, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Representative Johnson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Madam Sponsor, you started to say, like you were talking about the council in Knoxville, which I'm very familiar of and have gone to a lot of their meetings. So you're designing this to be set up like that. Is that correct?
You're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, Knox County has been, as I say, the leading county on that, and we've been working as the pilot for 2 years. So we would definitely be there to be able to support other counties with any questions or how they want to set theirs up.
Follow up.
So you did say it was permissive and that they can set it up however, but we would serve as a guide.
You're recognized.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other follow-up? Any other questions of our sponsor? Seeing none, we are voting on sending House Bill 566 as amended to Finance, Ways and Means with a positive recommendation. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Bill moves out to Finance, Ways and Means with a positive
Thank you,
recommendation.
committee and chairman.
Representative Hakeem, you're recognized for an announcement.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And I failed to do this earlier when representatives from TSU was here. Of course, TSU is already known nationally and internationally, but we have for the commencement speaker this year, I can't give you that date, but I think it's in May, Oprah Winfrey will be the commencement speaker. And of course, once again, this will put TSU on the national stage. So thank you for permitting me to make this announcement, sir.
Representative Hemmer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a point of personal privilege. Just wanted to recognize a lot of friends and constituents in the first 2 rows, and we wanted to thank y'all for coming out and being part of our deliberatory process.
Thank you for being here. Members, the chair has an announcement for all of our members. Rule review will be next Monday at 10 a.m. That's April 24th at 10 a.m. So if you're a member of the rule review, please be there. Any other announcement before we, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to remind everybody, former Representative Timothy Hill had his wife's funeral yesterday, And he was the whip here. And if you could just keep him in your thoughts and prayers. You know, they've got the little 6-year-old boy. And so just keep them in your thoughts and prayers.
Thank you. Certainly a valid recommendation, members. Other announcements? Seeing none, the chair will entertain a motion for adjournment. So, undebatable, we're adjourned.